Okay. You took me off guard there. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Turn Zero Loss, hosted by the Magic Engineers. I'm Eli, and we're joined by Sherry and David today, of course. And today, we're going to be discussing about some potential leaks that were recently brought up about Modern Horizons 3. You know, the set that's going to inevitably ruin the game again for the third time.
And modern.
Because that's all that like these sets ever do is they just ruin the game.
Wait, hold on, time out. You're saying the game's only been ruined 3 times? You're being very nice.
You're right. It could be a little bit more, but
yeah, but the printing of Black Lowest really ruined the game.
Yeah, especially when they printed that proxy. Oh man,
when they started Magic the Gathering back when Richard Garfield started thinking about it. Not even when the game was released. When he started thinking about it, the game was ruined. That's what it was. So spoilers and previews are not supposed to start for Modern Horizons 3 until May 21st. So this stuff is getting leaked like a whole month early, which is kind of ridiculous. They've already released some of like the first look stuff, so some stuff you could expect to see. Obviously, they're going to be like reprinting any of the evoke elementals that everyone cares about, but that's in like a more limited setting. So the stuff we're going to be talking about here is going to be stuff that may or may not. So these are all unconfirmed. These are people that are looking at the cards and like, this exists. Trust me. Trust bro. So if these cards don't turn out to be real, this is all speculation. But odds, like sometimes when these spoilers happen, they most usually turn out to be real. So the first card
these are leaks, but they're pictures of these leaks, so we have a tendency to believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a more tendency than not. Like 75% probably true. Starting off our little tirade here, we're going to talk about Harbinger of the Seas. So according to this picture that we're looking at right here, it's a really high quality photo. Harbinger of the Seas is 1 and 2 blue. It's a merfolk wizard, and it basically is a Magus of the Moon, but for islands. So all non-basic lands are islands.
It's also a 2/2. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now mono blue prison can be a thing. Damn it!
You're saying it wasn't already a thing?
Well, mono red prison had a thing in Legacy, but I don't need mono blue prison.
Yeah. So this card kind of introduces an interesting aspect that red has been notorious with messing with the mana base with Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon for as long as it has been. So for blue to get this effect too is, at least to my opinion, it's interesting. But it can also mess things up a little bit because in Modern, Boil is still legal. So that's the thing that everyone's concerned about with this leak, is that they're going to bring out their Harbinger of the Seas and then cast Boil and get rid of all of your lands. Because Modern players don't run basics, if you didn't know that, unless you're playing Merfolk.
Or burn.
Yep.
So a lot of your lands are going to be at risk of Boil, Harbinger of the Seas. But it's not going to be huge risk, I don't think, because most people aren't playing monocolors in Modern as much, just to the prevalence of fetch lands and everything like that. So I don't think it's going to be at huge risk, but at least the Harbinger of the Seas is going to act as a slowdown piece for anybody that's playing against a mono blue deck.
I'm just going to be real. Are they trying to make life more difficult to the judges here? Because they're going to have to explain layers a lot because of this card, because someone's going to play a Magus of the Moon, and then someone's going to play a Harbinger of the Seas, and then you're going to have to explain the 7th layer and all the sub layers, and then talk about timestamps.
Oh, I guarantee you that question's going to come up at some point. But
yes.
Maybe not in relation to this card, but definitely in relation to another we'll get to. This card, honestly, I might be crazy here. This card's fine.
Yeah,
it is.
I don't mind it. Like,
it's not going to be like the thing that's going to break the game. Like this is a shrug card.
Yeah,
we'll get to those later. But right for now, we're kind of just going to go through this list that we have, and I'm okay on it. Let blue have their control pieces. Whatever, have at it.
The funnest card of all these. I can't believe it's not Mole Drifter.
Hey, it is Mole Drifter. Just one letter of the alphabet got added. So it's Null Drifter instead.
Yeah, so someone mistyped the M to an N.
Yeah, they're right next to each other on the keyboard. I can understand the mistake.
Yeah, but I can't believe they got this to print in making this mistake. Even they put different art on there.
Yeah, it's even got different text and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, what's this A-Nio Lator? What?
My
What does that even
favorite.
mean?
It's my favorite mechanic, Sherry.
So
It's the best
let's
mechanic.
let's break down the card. It's Null Drifter. Costs 7 colorless mana if you want to cast it normally. It's an Eldrazi Elemental. It's a 4/4. And it reads, when you cast a spell, draw 2 cards, just because it's like Mull Drifter. It has flying, but it also has Annihilator 1. So Annihilator 1 isn't going to really affect it when it's ETBing, but it'll affect if you keep it around to attack.
It's
So
not
it
an
kinda,
ETB.
Yeah, it'll only be like a problem if they cast it for its normal mana cost or get it out of the graveyard somehow. But it also has Evoke for 2 and a blue, which is more likely what you're going to be using it for, just like a Mull Drifter. But the Annihilator does have some benefits. So this isn't going to like completely push anything in any direction, because 7 mana is a lot, 3 mana is a lot just to draw 2 cards too. Most modern players aren't going to be, scraping at the heels to get this card.
No, I unlikely.
Not only that, because it's non ETB like Mull Drifter, it's inherently significantly weaker.
Yep.
As like for example, in my Yarok deck, I would never trade this out for it because it's on cast, and versus Mull Drifter is ETB. So
Yep.
Yeah, you
that's
get a
far
lot more
easy to abuse.
You get a lot more leverage out of the ETB than you do per cast, which I assume there's a reason why they wanted to do it this way, so they could stop the combos. And with that, this card is significantly worse than Mull Drifter, just straight up.
Yes.
Even though it's more relevant in combat, you're never playing this card for combat. It's 7 mana, 4/4 with Annihilator 1 isn't going to cut it, even if it flies.
Hey, we don't know about an Eldrazi Winter 2 Electric Boogaloo. A lot of these Eldrazi are going to have commander decks, and which does bleed into Legacy and Vintage.
Well, sure, but again, I don't see this card making a splash in any format, even commander, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It's just not powerful enough. All right, let's go on to the next one here on this list, which is a reprint, actually. And that is Sapphire Medallion, which is a 2 mana artifact. Blue spells you cast cost 1 generic less to cast. And with this, I assume the rest of the cycle is going to be reprinted in this set as well. So Emerald Medallion, Ruby Medallion, Jade Medallion, so on and so forth. This is a good reprint. I really like this.
It's really a commander reprint, but in modern.
Yeah, but it's a very good reprint. Like
100%.
Yeah, I don't see this getting like play over like, was it Helm of Awakening?
No, it doesn't.
No,
so this is really a commander reprint disguised in the main set.
Yep, I think that's fine. Or this could be in the commander precon already. That's certainly a possibility.
It would have a different symbol, I believe.
It would.
Oh, sure.
But that's the interesting part. Why are they doing commander cards and commander decks for a modern set?
Money.
Because theoretically, because there really hasn't been any reason they haven't reprinted this in a regular set other than money. Because all of the medallions, they probably wouldn't see standard play. Well, they see probably a little.
I could see like Jade Medallion and maybe Ruby Medallion seeing fringe standard play, but
I would see more likely maybe Pioneer, but that's like I'm not very knowledgeable on Pioneer.
Yeah, I'm not savvy on that either.
All the same, this is a good reprint, and I support this.
Yep.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. Next card, thumbs down.
Yes.
Free counter spells.
We've got Flare of Denial. It's 1 blue, but you're never going to be casting it for 1 blue because it reads, you may sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay this spell's mana cost. And it just reads counter target spell. So you've got some goodness with this one. You have to have blue creatures. That's the thing that's restrictive, is it non-token?
And it's non-token.
Creatures. So that's the big restriction for this. So if you're casting this for that alternate cost, you need something that's worth sacrificing. So what I think of and what this website that we're looking at says is Snapcaster Mage, something like that. Something that when after it's done its job, you don't really care about it being on the battlefield anymore.
Yeah, but it's weird. This cycle I'm not sure exactly how to feel about, because I feel like this is a commander card. Because once you get like modern, legacy and vintage, they're not really creature based.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, I'm kind of, and this is probably an entirely different video. I'm kind of tired of the commanderification of the entire Magic. Doesn't seem like anything's printed without in mind for commander. Like, why does it say every card have to say each opponent, or say instead of just one of your opponents? Or I'm not going to get
Well,
into that right now.
that's
But
clarification. And I don't really have a problem with that. I think I'll be honest with you. I think this card's kind of weak.
it's not great. It's good in commander.
I don't
but
even
not
think it's
great.
good in Commander, because in Commander, when you have a specific board state with creatures, all of them have a purpose, all of them have a reason, all you're setting up for something most of the time with them. You don't really have anything loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this you wouldn't play this over anything like a Force of Will or
Oh,
Force
God,
of
no.
Negation. You'd sack this for a Force of Will, if anything.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, if I were looting and I saw Force of Will over this card, it would be an easy take. That said, Force of Will is the best counterspell in Magic. So, I mean,
Correct.
I don't know. This card just doesn't read strong enough for me. I think if you made it, I think you allowed tokens to be sacrificed, I think it would be much better.
I mean, that maybe that's part of the design that they went for, is they didn't want to make it super overpowered.
Well, they succeeded, because now it's useless.
Yeah, and it's rare too. So
Yeah, feels
people
bad.
are gonna pull that and feel really bad. Something that people are not going to pull and feel really bad about, though, and this little next image is going to be Necro Dominance. So Necro Dominance is basically Necropotence, but worse, I would say, because Necropotence is 3 black, Necro Dominance is 3 black, and they both read skip your draw step. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life if you do draw that many cards. So actually, that's a little slight difference, variation. I just now reading this card, kind of caught up there. Necropotence, you could do that anytime. Necrodominance has to be at your end step, so that's a big difference between the two. And you draw the cards rather than put them in your hand after exiling them.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird, because I think this is basically designed. It's kind of fixing the kind of complicatedness bit around Necropotence, but also it's trying to limit it in a kind of a weird way.
Yeah,
But
because
it's
the limiting factor I didn't get to is that your maximum hand size is 5. But just like Necropotence, any cards you discard or anything that you put from your graveyard, you exile it instead. So that's also interesting. It stops death triggers.
I feel like it's also important to note that with the Necropotence effect, you can pay life at any time during your turn, and then those cards are exiled, and then the end step, they go into your hand. Whereas here, you have to pay right at the end step, and then you just draw the cards.
Yep.
That's actually a very significant difference, because it leaves your draws from Necro Dom much more vulnerable to discard effects.
Yeah.
That could come in an instant speed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're trying to clearly fix Necropotence and see, because of how dominant the card is.
Yeah.
But I think they overcorrected a little bit.
I'd say so too.
Yeah, like, I'm excited to see legendary enchantments, because I think they should have been a thing for a while. But I don't think that that's going to need that restriction, really.
No.
Because this card effectively limits itself, because you would just put let's say I had 2 Necro Dominances. It would just mean that I would have 2 of those triggers. You just stack them together, and it doesn't matter. You only have so much life.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't understand why the legendary is on there, which is kind of a bummer, because I thought a legendary chant would be cooler.
Yeah, this is like, it feels like a kind of a letdown for something that's legendary,
Especially Necropotence has notoriously big shoes to fill, so this doesn't really. I don't even think this can wear the socks, let alone the shoe.
Definitely not. Also seen on that image that might be something worth noting, if you look to the top of that image, Kappa Cannoneer might be coming to Modern, which Kappa Cannoneer, if you all know, was a scourge of Legacy and Vintage for
it was
for
a problem.
A long time.
It was a problem in Legacy for a while.
Yeah. So I don't know how prevalent it'll be in Modern, but something worth noting at the very least, because if you don't know what Kappa Cannoneer does, it has Improvise. You can pay mana by tapping artifacts. to pay colorless mana. It has Ward 4. And then whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on Kappa Cannoneer, and it can't be blocked this turn. In Modern, that's huge.
Yeah, that's a beater right there. That's devastating.
I mean, it may cost 6 mana, but if you have enough artifacts out, you can get it out pretty quick.
Yeah, it won't, realistically, it won't cost anything but 1 blue mana, which you're fine with.
I mean, it's kind of like how Murkfiend Leash, or not Murkfiend Leash, the dragon that was like, it was like 5 blue, but you had,
I know what you're talking about.
There's some sort of
Murktide Regent?
There's some sort, yeah, Murktide Regent.
Yeah.
It was like how that's technically like 7 mana or like 5 mana, but it's really just 2 mana, and it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Murktide Regent's always going to be a problem, unfortunately, unless they ban it, but they're not going to ban it because it's so good, and everyone uses it.
All right, moving on. We got the next card on this list. Ladies and gentlemen, Eldrazi's back on the table. It's Echoes of Eternity. 3 generic and 3 colorless mana for a Kindred enchantment, Eldrazi. So Kindred enchantment is basically the new form of Tribal, to the point where I believe all the cards with Tribal are going to get errata to basically represent Kindred. So
yes, I think it was a part of Magic. It was like switch from type to typal, and then also from Tribal to now Kindred. So it's
just tighten it up. So card reads, if a triggered ability of a colorless spell you control or another colorless permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Whoa. That's nuts.
Yeah.
This is a commander card.
This is a commander card.
This is definitely a commander
Big,
card.
splashy, and ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, even
with
it's
super
like,
fun
mana cost.
Eldrazi Tribal.
Yeah. Even with the restricted mana cost of 3 and then 3 actual colorless mana, I still think it's going to see a lot of play in like those splashy decks that people love to play, especially in Eldrazi decks. Like, they're going to love this card.
I'll just come out and say it. Just to come out and say it right now, if you're playing a colorless commander deck, this card is a must include.
Yeah,
if you're playing an artifact deck, there is definitely a consideration that you should put this in there.
Yeah,
because this is any colorless spell. It's not even. That's actually, now that I think about it, that's the weirdest part of this card, because it is a tribal enchantment that doesn't say Eldrazi in the actual text box.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it might be an Eldrazi tribal or kindred enchantment, but it doesn't really care too much about the Eldrazi aspect. So I'm happy that it's not restrictive, but I'm also going to be unhappy to have to play against it if I ever have to.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah,
I'm going to love playing this card.
Yeah, it's 6 mana. You have to kind of work around it, because that 3 colorless mana shouldn't be disregarded. Because that is more of a challenge than people think it is, unless you obviously have like a Therian Dynamo or have a lot of like Ancient Tomb or City of Traders type effects, but that's when you're actually spending real money. So
yep.
I still maintain any colorless commander deck must have this card. It's so strong. And
Absolutely.
It can be game winning with how powerful some of those commanders are.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
The next card we have to speak on is Thief of Existence. It's another Eldrazi, because this Modern Horizon set is about Eldrazi, apparently. It costs 1 colorless green, and it's creature Eldrazi. It's a 3/4, and it has Devoid, so it has no color. So, basically, you understand that. And it reads, when you cast a spell, exile up to 1 target non-creature, non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. If you do, Thief of Existence gains when this creature leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card.
What's this? I can't believe it's not Skyclave Apparition.
Yeah, kind of. But you're forced to pick non-creature, non-land, so it's like way worse.
Yeah, it's the Dyad version of Skyclave Apparition.
And even then, like, this reads like a novel, but it doesn't do a whole lot.
You're going to get somebody's Therian Dynamo or their Arcane Signet out of it. And it's not worthless, but it's not impactful.
Now, in Modern, it's going to be a little more impactful. You're going to get stuff like...
I don't know about that. That mana cost, green colorless is kind of a difficult.
That's true.
3 colorless and 1. That's
modern
like anything
colorless
3
production isn't a whole. It's not a whole lot in there.
I suspect that if I may,
that's not-
I suspect there's going to be a series of lands that are going to alternate between colored and colorless.
That could be it. Yeah.
There is a land cycle on here that's basically it taps for a blue and then comes in untapped if you control like an island, and then has another effect on there. I can't remember exactly what it is. We'll get to it, but 3 costs in any Eternal format of the like modern, legacy, vintage is a significant cost because you try to keep like your 3 mana stuff should be a beater. Like it should be like a Liliana of the Veil or like some haymakers. This doesn't speak haymaker to me.
Yeah, it's more of a tempo piece, and it is a little bit of a weak one at that because it can't really hit a lot of the things you really want to hit. So, I don't know. Pretty shrugged for me. I don't really like it very much.
We're also notoriously bad at predicting things.
We are very bad at predicting things. We could still talk about how bad a card might be, and then it turns out it's a game-breaking card.
Yeah, so buy this card now. It's gonna be $50 in a couple weeks.
Yeah, listen to the Magic Doomers.
I thought we were the Magic Doomers. What?
Yeah, listen to the Magic Doomers. Us.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we are the Magic Doomers. Sherry, you want to speak on the next one here?
You can talk about this one.
Okay. Well, this one will be quick, I think, because there's not a whole lot to talk about on this. It's Shelgengar, whatever, Sire of the Famine. 3 black, legendary creature, Elder Demon. It's a 6/6, has flying, and like every Magic card, it has a wall of text I have to read. You could sacrifice another creature to create a blood token. If you sacrifice an angel this way, you create a number of blood tokens equal to its toughness instead. Or you could pay. What was that? This is Orzhov?
It's hybrid. It's hybrid white,
3,
black.
3 Orzhov, so white, black. Sacrifice 6 blood tokens, and then you can return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Those creatures are vampires in addition to their other types. I imagine finality counters are if they die that you exile them.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's hard. They've added a million different counters.
Yeah, no reminder text next to the counter here is bad rules text in my opinion, even though there's already a gargantuan amount.
I mean, like it feels like they're reducing the size of the text just to fit all the shit in here.
Yeah, they are.
So like, it's funny. I like the designs of these, but stop pretending this is a modern set.
Yeah,
yeah. Like you're not playing this ever in modern. Like
no, never
in any situation.
Things you have to do to get value out of this is never going to see modern play, and then those words are going to come back to bite us. This is not your Elder Gargaroth.
I feel like this one we're right on the money. I feel like because there's no cost reduction, there's no super powerful upside you get out of it in modern that matters. Like who is this card? This card is clearly meant for commander players, but it could work as a commander. I don't think it's unreasonable, but I think it requires a very specific build. And it seems
it's kind of like not an off color, but like a fairly unique Angel tribal deck.
Yeah,
but you have to really know what you're doing to get the most out of this. Or it's absurdly simple and you just create a bunch of beaters, you sacrifice and loop things and get value, which is actually probably, now the more that I'm talking about and more than I'm thinking about, that's probably just what it's going to be.
Yeah. I'm pretty shrug on this card. I don't really care for it. And yeah, as Sherry said, there's no universe in which this sees modern play.
God, no. This is kind of a poopy card for modern, and even like a fringe card for any other Eternal format, in my opinion. Seems like a bulk almost.
If this is playing vintage, I will eat my hat.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Sherry's gonna eat his hat.
He's gonna eat it up.
Speaking of other things that are off brands of other things, we have.
May I?
I'll introduce it, and then you can read the card.
Yes, right? Yes, that works.
This is great value, Gilded Drake.
I feel like it requires a better name than that. I don't know.
I don't know. The
Sure.
energy
This
counters
is-
on this thing are kind of.
Hey, we'll get there, Sherry. Don't spoil it.
This is Kroger brand Gilded Drake. How about that?
Okay. So the
It's
actual
above
cards,
rate.
the actual card's name is Volatile Storm Drake, which is a 1 blue creature Drake with flying hexproof from activated and triggered abilities. So
I
weird.
hate.
I
Why
love
can't they
it.
just give it regular hexproof?
Because they hate you. When Volatile Storm Drake enters the battlefield, exchange control of it and target creature an opponent controls. If you do, you gain 4 energy counters, and then sacrifice that creature unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. Energy is back on the menu, boys. It took us 8 years, but we finally got back there. I'm so happy.
This is totally not a problem and still a parasitic mechanic.
I hate it. I hate this shit.
Okay, in all actuality, I actually kind of love this card. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like I'm kidding when I say I hate this card. The part that I hate is that it just brings energy back. So
See, I want more energy. I want it to mean something. If you're going to introduce something like that,
we just can't get away from it.
no, you can't. You can never escape it.
I just like the more I look at this card, the more I'm like, I understand what it's trying to do because actually probably not going to be used to. It's basically a cheaper Pugnify, but with downside. Because what I would see this actually being used for, because it's 2 mana, you basically get you take their creature away, and then if you don't pay, which is probably what's going to happen, you sacrifice it. Unless it's like good to have on your board.
I actually don't know about that. I think people will pay that energy counter because what else are you going to use it for?
Yeah, like if you most of the stuff that you're going to be stealing in Modern is going to be 4 or less mana value.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about finishers. This is a finisher stopper. Like, let's say, I know this is a bad example, but like, let's say Emrakul. I know that has
That's an interesting example to use considering it's banned.
Yeah, that ship is
no. I'm
sailed.
talking about in like eternal formats. I'll use primetime in like eternal formats.
Okay.
Once a primetime gets out there, it's a beater. It's a very, very strong card. I could see blue decks using this to remove Primal Titan because they don't have much of a use for a ramp, like in the traditional sense. So
Right.
they would they'd get it because it's like I think Primal Titan's 4 mana
I'm gonna say maybe
or 5 mana.
I'll look it up for you so that way you don't have to sound dumb. It is going to be, if I could just get this image to open up, 6 mana.
So it's 6 mana. So the way that most of the time this will work is you'll be sacrificing things if it's above 4, because unless you are strictly doing an energy build, which I think is actually one of the commander decks is based around energy counters. I think it's the Jeskai one.
Yeah, I don't think this would get printed unless there were some other energy play arounds.
Yeah, but still,
you're building
I like
around
them
energy,
printing things for mechanics to give them more exposure, but they never ever print enough of the cards to change what energy
Right.
builds would be.
Yep.
But that's a different issue entirely.
Yeah, and this isn't less expensive than Pongify, by the way. Pongify is 1 mana, and it casts instant speed, so...
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was 2 mana.
Nope,
No.
it's 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
So play Pongnify, everybody.
I there's a case to be made for this card, I think.
I
Because
understand this card. Like, you could also use Flicker, like tricky Flicker mechanics if you really want to get this card back over and over. Oh, actually, you can't because it's hexproof from activating trigger ability, so you can't.
yeah, so you can't even retrieve it.
Yeah, so this card's bad. I'm just kidding.
This card is not bad at all.
It's not bad.
It's really not, because again, you're trading a 3/2 flyer, which isn't nothing, but it's not a finisher by any means for somebody's 4-cost finisher in most formats. Like, and again, I think even if it doesn't trade, it at least kills the card that was going to kill you.
Yes.
So I think there's a strong case to be made for this card either way, even though, like Sherry said, it doesn't hit everything.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument for it.
There is certainly, like, I think this will see some play, but I don't think it's going to be in the decks that we think it's going to be.
I think it'll depend on the quality of support that Energy gets this set. if it gets a card that's absolutely absurd, we're going to see 4-ofs in every deck that runs energy.
I actually disagree. I think this is an excellent sideboard piece. I don't think it's main deckable, but I think against certain decks, it's a good sideboard.
I think in any situation you can main deck this and get away with it.
Let the people have their energy counters.
Give us more energy, please.
I think we've discussed plenty on this card, and I believe it's time to move on to the next one. This one is intriguing, but I don't think it's modern playable.
It's a commander card.
It's a commander card for sure. It's called Pearl Ear Imperial Advisor. It's 1 white. It's a legendary creature, Fox Advisor, that has... Sorry, it's a 3/4. And it has lifelink. Enchantment spells you cast have affinity for auras, meaning they cost 1 less for each aura you control. And whenever you cast an aura spell that targets a modified permanent you control, you draw a card. Modified, of course, is a keyword that was added during the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty block, where it's equipment, auras you control, and counters are modifications. So, there you go.
I like this card a lot.
It's neat.
It's a neat card. It's a commander card, for sure.
I think this could see some Enchantress play.
Dude, is modern Enchantress a thing?
I think Selesnya Enchantress. I know it was that green-white commander, the one that's every time you play a spell or a enchantment spell, you draw a card.
Yep.
I think if only this was like a blue card or a green card, and it was like for Bogles, this would be in the deck, I would think.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Boggles?
I think 3 mana for modern is too much for a setup piece like this.
Yeah. It's certainly a commander card. I like the idea of it.
That you don't really get much out of initially.
Yeah.
You need to have more mana behind it and more support with auras.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the affinity for auras, though. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
that's pretty neat.
That's a really neat thing. Actually, it could really help snowball any sort of enchantment playstyles. So it's not a bad card by any means. I'm not saying it is, but modern playable, I wouldn't say so.
All right. Next card that we have to discuss is another reprint and potentially a very impactful one.
This one actually might destroy the format.
I don't know if it would destroy the format, but it would definitely warp it. Brainstorm is getting a reprint in this set. Now, allegedly. We don't know if it's part of the commander decks or not yet, because on the picture I'm seeing of it, the set symbol is hidden, so I have no way to tell. But if it does make it into the main deck or set list, then I don't know what's going to happen. That's crazy.
That's I honestly I think that modern I think is I shouldn't say a good place, but
hasn't been in a good place since they banned Splitter Twin. I don't know, man. You tell me.
I don't know. Ever since the Modern Horizons things, where each of them kind of warps the format every time something's printed. And let's look up the current modern. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. It's getting dominated by Leyline of the Guild Pact and the Domain Zoo. That's what I thought. Rexo Scam, yep. God, that's 12.5 and 10.6 in the meta for the top 2. That's insane.
Yeah. I don't know. I
think, how is Mono Green Tron the good guy?
I think Brainstorm has its place. I don't think it belongs in Modern again. I think it should stay away from Modern, and it's already busted up plenty of other formats. I hope it's a commander set reprint, not a full set. Because
I'm gonna be real. If this gets printed in, Murktide Regent decks are going to take over the format again.
Yeah, them and Malevolent Hermit stuff. Was that what it was? Malevolent Hermit? I can't remember. It's the one that transforms into bugs when you look at cards at the top of your library.
Oh, Grist.
No. It's you look at the top card of your library at the start of your turn, if it's an insert sorcery, you transform the card into a bigger creature.
Oh.
God, I can't remember the name of the card, but I'll find it eventually. But also confirmed in this image, Emerald Medallion is going to be reprinted if this is all true. And then Cephalid Coliseum is also in this image, which is
that's actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
That
So
is a very,
both-
very good card for filling
both
graveyards.
very relevant cards. I don't know what Detective's Phoenix is, but it's an unrevealed card, so I guess we'll figure out what the heck that is at some point if it's real.
It looks like it's an enchantment creature based on the surroundings.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yep, we can speculate all we want, but something we don't have to speculate on is another Goyf. By another Goyf, I mean another Goyf.
Wow. Wow. I can't believe you did this. You're banned.
Yeah. So Nether Goyf is 1 black. It's a Lurgoyf, and it's just like our friend Tarmogoyf, where it has star 1+ star, where its toughness is equal to its toughness and its power are equal to the number of types among cards in your graveyard. So it also has escape. So escape, you can pay 2 and a black to exile any number of other cards from your graveyard with 4 or more card types among them, and you may cast this card from your graveyard for its escape cost. So that's a fun time. It kind of weakens the Nethergoyf when you do that, but if you're playing into like the same kind of Tarmogoyf playstyle, this card pretty okay.
Oh, guys, I just realized something.
Ugh.
So I was getting ready for the one that isn't on here, which is Tarmogoyf's Nest. All of the ones that we've been looking at today are all in the main set.
Oh, great.
Because Tarmogoyf's Nest is in the commander set, and the commander set looks different.
Oh, great. I love it.
So I'm gonna let that stew a little bit.
I love this. This is great.
Are we sure we want to be a Magic podcast anymore?
We'll talk about that later.
So yeah, I think this is a good card to stop on, honestly, because the rest of these are like commons, uncommons, or cards that aren't really super relevant in my opinion, except for this last card. Actually, one last card. This will be the last one, I swear. Unless you really want to talk about Tarmogoyf's Nest.
I do want to talk about it. It's kind of fun.
Okay.
God, hit it.
We'll talk about this land real quick, and then we'll talk about the Tarmogoyf's Nest. All right. Archway of Innovation. Archway of Innovation is a land. It enters tapped unless you control an island, and it taps for a blue. And then you can pay blue and tap it to have the next spell you cast this turn have improvised, meaning you can tap artifacts to pay for colorless mana. That's really about it. Great utility.
That's the land I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
Pretty solid. Yep. Go ahead and talk about this nonsense that is Tarmogoyf's Nest, because I cannot find it for the life of me.
So, in the commander set, I think there is a Tarmogoyf related deck, and I could be wrong about this. Anyway, this card exists. It's called Tarmogoyf's Nest. It is 2 and a green. Kindred enchantment. Lurgoyf Aura, which I never thought I'd ever say in my life.
Fuck.
Enchant land. Enchanted land has pay 1 and a green for an end tap. Create a Tarmogoyf token. It is a 1 and a green Lurgoyf creature token with Tarmogoyf's power is equal to the number of card types among all graveyards, and its power is equal, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1.
So do you have to cast the Tarmogoyf?
No, but they're giving it. It's interesting that they're giving it a mana value. I think there's something we're missing about that because I've never seen it with a mana value on there.
Right. Also,
but
seeing
it says
that
create a token, so it's actually generated. It's not like copying a spell where you're technically not.
Yeah, it's not create a copy of the spell like it would be for that Garth One-Eyed, where you have to cast it still.
Yeah, so I think there's something that's going to be around the set which actually like makes. Wait a minute, you know what this means?
No.
This means that that blue-white deck that I've been wanting to build but haven't yet.
Oh god.
The one that like creates real permanence or creates permanence out of tokens is now going to be permanent. I can actually cast tokens from the graveyard and they stick. My dreams do come true.
But what about the aspect that you need green in that deck to do that?
Don't crush my dreams.
That's a little. It's only a suggestion, really.
I mean, I'm already.
Okay.
I'd already be using a non-legal commander. Who cares at that point?
Yeah. So that's an interesting card. I hope it's not real, but it's probably real.
I do actually want to talk about one more card, and this is a chunky one.
Oh, go ahead.
Ulamog the Defiler. Ulamog the Defiler is 10 mana.
Oh,
Legendary
Jesus.
creature Eldrazi. When you cast a spell, target opponent exiles half their library rounded up.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Has ward. Sacrifice 2 permanents.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Ulamog the Defiler enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the greatest mana value among cards in exile.
Yes.
So that doesn't just mean half the library. That means in all of exile. And it also has Ulamog has Annihilator X, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on it.
This is beautiful.
It is a 7/7 to start.
This is a
beautiful.
This is a beautiful card. I must possess it.
Where is this card? I'm not seeing it.
Go all the way down.
Is it on the commander set card list, or is it on?
No, it's on the main set one.
Oh my god.
Scroll all the way down. Doesn't have a picture with it.
Okay, so I'm less inclined to believe this is real if it doesn't have a picture. But if this is real, what the fuck?
Yes. I want this card.
Half your library. In Modern, that's not much, and you have to cast it. So just like when we had Emrakul being a menace, you never really cast it as but in Commander, that's at minimum 50 cards.
Yes.
And statistically, people are going to have their favorite punchy creatures, which is like 10 mana in there. So you're going to get Annihilator 10.
Yeah.
Or even better, if they legalize Emrakul. Now hear me out. That's potential Annihilator 15.
I don't want to think about this. Okay.
I am smiling ear to ear.
You're telling me.
This card, I would hate to play against this card. I would hate to play this card. I'd love to play it, but I'd hate to play it because I would feel awful about whoever I choose.
I wouldn't.
Because
no mercy.
Honestly, the only time I've ever not feel awful is if it's somebody that's really been pissing me off the entire game. So, yeah. Fuck Christ.
Oh,
Dang.
Hold up. There is I think we should talk about one more, and this might actually be a problem in Modern.
Okay.
Flare of Duplication. This one I think I've actually seen pictures for. This website doesn't have it, but it's the flare in red.
Oh, okay.
It's one red. You may sacrifice a non-token red creature rather than pay its mana cost. Copy target instant or sorcery. You may choose new targets of the copy. This is a burn staple. Burn and goblins are the only creatures in there, and they both use a lot of spells. So this actually might be the problem of the flare cycle.
Oh boy, I love it.
And on that gloomy note,
we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah. What are your impressions and thoughts on Modern Horizons or Modern Horizons? Yeah, Modern Horizons. I guess 3, the third one of those.
Modern Speculations 3.
Modern Speculations 3.
Quest for even more money.
God.
Yeah, we're simply in an environment where we are speculating on all this. Of course, we do not know whether or not half of these are going to be true.
Motherfuckers.
Not die.
Anyway, let us know what you think about these cards, and if you think that any of them are going to be real, or would you play them? Just comment down below what your thoughts on that are. Do you agree with our opinions? Do you disagree with our opinions about them? Give us a like if you like the video. Subscribe. Follow us on X. I'm not very active on there, but I should probably be more active, and it's fine. And then, yeah, we'll see you for the next episode.
It'll be a surprise.
Just remember, everybody, magic was never alive in the first place.